It's time to talk about PunkHazard. And coming off of Fishman Island, I honestly feel like I really enjoyed this arc. For a setup arc, I think it did its job for the most part. I don't know what the general consensus is of this arc or whether people like it or hate it, but for me personally, I thought it was pretty solid. It wasn't really bad, but it wasn't great, but I got what I wanted out of it, and I can't wait for Dressrosa because they set up so much, even I think post Dressrosa, because there's no way we're gonna address all this stuff going there, that I'm just like infatuated with what could possibly happen next. Which is what Oda's good at. He's good at building anticipation for things, especially with his world building and whatnot. And when it comes to pacing, I did the manga and the anime because I pretty much read like the in-between parts where it felt like it was going kind of slow. But for the anime, I watched it, all of the important parts like the fights and etc. So from my point of view, I thought the pacing was pretty decent. But like I normally do, let me go ahead and get my negatives, my gripes out the way, and then we'll go ahead and get into the good stuff. First major gripe was the kids. I don't know if this makes me like a bad person when it comes to some of these anime and like all this other stuff. Maybe I'm just numb to certain things. I did not give a fuck about these kids like that. These kids to me were more annoying than anything. The crying was ridiculous. Mocha was cool. My only thing was when it came to her running with the candy so that way they don't get to him, I feel like that was dragged on a little too long. And the only really good part that came from whenever the kids was on screen was basically at the end. And the one kid that mentioned Momonosuke turned into a dragon. That was the only part I was somewhat interested in what was going on. If anything, they were more of a hindrance to this arc than adding any type of quality. Now obviously the story that comes from it, them being experimented on for the government, like low-key on the underground, and Caesar being a part of that. The whole thing of that was a really interesting aspect, more so of the PunkHazard and how the politics and some of the new government is working. That was the main part. Other than that, didn't really care. From an anime perspective, certain things was kind of dragged out too long. That's one gripe that I had. And the only really other negative, which is kind of not really, was the island. I felt like I wish we were on the fire or the ice side or a little bit more or something just to add more color to it. Because we were in that factory pretty much 90% of the time. So it was a little dull looking at certain things. So certain scenes just looked a little repetitive. Talking about the island a little bit more, I actually do like how PunkHazard was explained and the lore behind it. The battle that Aokiji and Kainu had was so epic and it lasted for 10 days that it actually split the island in half of molten hot and then ice freezing cold. I thought that was badass. The fact that they did that was kind of tough. In the island having these people that were pretty much abandoned and taken over by the world government, and they were just kind of left there to die. Them kind of being added to the lore itself, with obviously Law coming in later and healing them and giving them new legs, making them look like mythical creatures, was really cool. And it added a new different look into how PunkHazard is kind of treated. PunkHazard now just had a feeling of this place felt almost different from anywhere we've ever been at. And then of course the dragon fight in the beginning with the Straw Hats definitely add to it. It just felt completely different from like the Fishman Island or even Sabayori. It just felt like a mythical place more than anything. The island of PunkHazard as itself, I like it. I just kind of wish it was a little bit more to go with it in terms of just kind of how it looks and how the island kind of worked. I wish it was just a little bit more at it. And the other aspect I gotta get into is the body swapping they had. This, I didn't even know how to feel about it, because it was points where it was pretty funny, like Frankie being swapped into Chopper's body and things like that. But obviously this being One Piece, we already knew how this was going. As soon as I heard that they swapped bodies, I already knew Sanji had to be in Nami's body. And of course he took advantage of every possible situation to use her body in any sort of imagination that he had. So it was a ton of fan service. Didn't really bother me. I was just kind of laughing because it's just like, I guess this is just what Sanji's character has become. He's kind of just a fan service character. He got his moments of him that's kind of underlying, like him pretty much focusing on getting Kinemon's body back as well as helping the crew. He took that on himself to help him. So I did like that aspect of his character. But when it came to everything else, it was just kind of like, yeah, I guess it's just what we're gonna have to get used to. Chopper in this arc was pretty good. I like the fact that he got something to do. He was trying to help the kids get better, keep them away from the candy, and he was pretty much another doctor on the island that was needed. I rocks with that. I like that Chopper got that. Brook kind of was like the median in between. He was kind of how Kinemon got with them, and then how he found his son. So Brook kind of played that role. And then Luffy, to be honest with you, didn't really have that much of like an impact on this arc. Like his presence was not felt at all, really. Other than the start and the end, he kind of didn't move me. Speaking of Momonosuke, I don't know what his character is gonna be. I did like the moment between him and his father. I thought that was really heartwarming. And him turning into a dragon and him, I guess, having like a Zoan fruit Now it's gonna be kind of interesting because I'm wondering how that is gonna play into anything in the future. Not really sure. I don't know if he's got any like fights or something, but I feel like that dragon is gonna definitely come in handy at some point. And clearly Momonosuke had probably the best part of the entire arc. If I had to insert myself into any character, that last episode with him, I'm not even gonna lie, I feel the same way with Sanji, Brook, and even his dad. That is one lucky little kid. Smoker and Tashigi, best they ever been so far in this arc. These two did way more than I expected for them to do. Tashigi did her thing as swordsman. You know, she had a little growth moment with Zoro and Monet. She still got things to learn. Now, when she questions Zoro because he don't want to really fight women like that, he doesn't really want to cut them. Even though we all know from Zoro's past, Zoro, one of his strongest people he knows is a woman. So that whole thing, I knew that was gonna trigger him a little bit because it was like, you got me fucked up right now if you think I can't kill her. She definitely added another element to the fight. I don't really know what to describe it as, but she made the fight way easier to sit through. Not that it was bad, but she just, I don't know, her personality just added another touch to it. And of course, Smoker had the best fight in the entire arc. Never thought I would ever say that, especially with Smoker, but that fight with Virgo and then Law coming in at the end, that might have been one of the best choreographed fights from hand to hand to even how Smoker was moving with his smoke in the whole series. I mean, Toei definitely stepped it up a notch for that fight. I wasn't really sure why. At the end, I see why they did, and he came off with his new Vice Admiral role. He came off a lot more serious, a lot more stern, and just someone you really wanted to follow in a way, even though he was getting his ass kicked a lot. My respect for Smoker went up just a little bit more. And since we on the subject, might as well talk about Virgo. Virgo is like a side antagonist. I did like him. He was a pirate that turned on the Navy, even though he was never with them. It was a cool little twist because I thought he was originally the opposite, a Navy who then turned pirate, kind of like Zed from movie Z. But him being that added way more of a personal touch to that Smoker fight. So I liked it. He didn't really have any more depth other than that, which I think that's all he really needed because he came off as an enforcer, like a big bodyguard dude that was just going to beat the shit out of you. And he had the best hockey control so far that we've seen in the series. Armament hockey, hardening his body like crazy. And he was just hard to just beat down for a while. And him also working with Joker was a nice little added aspect because Joker even gave Virgo his respects. So Virgo is a side antagonist. I rocks with him. And now it's time. We might as well talk about the main antagonist for PunkHazard, Caesar, the mad scientist. Now, I don't really know what my feeling is for him. Like, I'm probably just gonna say he's mid because he didn't really move me all that much. But like, he wasn't bad. He was better than a lot of other antagonists of other arcs. And that laugh, dog, the laugh, I've never heard someone laugh that much in One Piece when it comes to a villain laugh. Like, nah, it's probably just gonna be stuck in my head for a minute, so I might just be walking the streets and I'm gonna just let that fucking laugh out at some point. But he was creating smile fruit, like a poisonous gas devil fruit that he sells to the Joker. I love like underground crime that kind of happens beneath the scene that you don't even realize is way bigger than what could potentially happen. So things like that, I like that Oda did that, because now One Piece already had like a government versus the people, and then there's like a mafia side. Now you got the underground where no one really knows about them like that unless you're in the know, so that's cool. And then he has Smiley didn't do much for me. I thought he was gonna be a lot more dangerous, like a tool that Caesar would use even while during fighting, but didn't really do nothing with it. And then his fight with Luffy was okay. It was kind of like a cat and mouse game. We knew Luffy could beat Caesar's ass any day of the week, and Caesar couldn't really do nothing to him. He just kind of had hacks a little bit. But once Luffy got that grizzly magnum off, it was GG's. I put Caesar in like the same category as Moria. I saw what Oda was doing with them, kind of making him a despicable antagonist, but I guess if we've already seen that so many times, didn't really do much for me. Might as well get into the MVPs now. Zoro for sure is going to be a straw hat MVP for me. He was way easier to read, kind of like a comical effect. He just carried himself like a badass the whole way like it normally does. And his fight with Monet was the second best part for me in the arc, other than obviously the Smoker Virgo Law stuff. And we got a hint at just how strong Zoro is by cutting Monet without hockey like that. So I can't wait to see Zoro in the future. Hopefully, you know, he gets like a close personal type fight. I can't wait till we get something like that for him. But obviously the main MVP is Law. I don't think it should be anyone's name because Law made this arc must see. When I first saw him as the guy that was going to be welcoming Smoker when they first opened that door, I knew I was really going to be rooting for Law the whole time. First of all, his fit is fire. I feel like Oda is really hitting the nail on how he wants Law to be portrayed other than the cool guy. His fits is fire. I like that we kind of got to look into his character. He's more so of like a guy. He really doesn't want to show his emotions all that much. He feels like someone who wants to keep things close intact. He'd rather do something by himself than include other people. And as a pirate, I like that he moves real cerebral. Before he uses brute force or having to use his devil fruit, he'd rather think things ahead. He might do something crazy like give his heart to Caesar, or how he was playing the Joker later in the arc. Law was doing everything, and obviously the biggest feat of him not only cutting Virgo in half, while Virgo had his whole hockey covered armor and everything, but he sliced up pretty much the sad containers that had the sad drugs in it, and he sliced the mountain in half. Like, that was the craziest feat we've seen so far that I can remember. Anything involving Law in this arc just felt way more important than I originally anticipated for it to be. So he's going to obviously be main MVP. He was a 10 out of 10 for me in this arc. And he's already one of my favorite characters in my top 5. I can't wait to see him in Dressrosa since we got him with the straw hat, so he's going to have some backup. I don't know if his other powers are going to show up too. I hope they do, so that way they can help him out. The MVP got to be Doflamingo being the Joker. The second he was shown to be that, I was locked in because we already know Doflamingo is the one antagonist I really cannot wait to look forward to, because everyone in the One Piece community like hypes him up to the high heavens. And this dude, obviously, he's probably done every crime in the book, and he's all about his money. He's working also with Kaido, which is kind of interesting, Yonko, and the fact that Law even threatened him that he would pretty much let Kaido know that Doflamingo ain't getting you those smile fruits anymore. He started shitting bricks. But there was so many scenes with Doflamingo in here where I'm just like, dude, like, it's not even that much storytelling going on, but he just looks cool. His aura is different. His fit is fire as hell. He just stands out so much compared to everyone else. And we already know how he is in Marine 4. He's a guy that would rather have controlled chaos more than anything. He's not really siding or caring if you're good or evil. He just wants to control you so he can use you for his own doings. I really liked his dynamic with Law. I can't wait to see more of that because I feel like we're going to definitely see that in Dressrosa. The scene of him flying was really cool. And when it comes to Doflamingo, I just really want to know what else he's about. Is there like a backstory to him? Is there something going forward that he's going to do that's like going to be changing the world of One Piece? I just can't wait to see more of him. And Dressrosa a long ass arc, so you know, all my questions should be hopefully answered. And of course, can't forget when Aokiji pops up at this point of the arc at the end, and he has a little face off with Doflamingo after Dofi pretty much sliced up Smoker. I was a little upset they didn't fight, but obviously I didn't fully expect them to. I was like, you know, let me get a clash or something. And that's how the arc finishes. And also shout out to Frankie because he was kind of clutch at the end, going up against Buffalo, Buck Teeth Boy, and the other bitch that I don't know the name of. And that's my thoughts on PunkHazard. I think I'm gonna get this like a solid, between like a 6.5 and a 7. Like in between of that, I don't really know what to give it, but I liked it way better than anything I've seen so far in the time skip. So hopefully it just gets better from here. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you haven't already, all that YouTube stuff. Check out my main channel if you like JJK, Jujutsu Kaisen content. It's a bunch of good stuff over there. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.
ようこそ逆さまの世界へ。